Many thanks, Liz and Benny. Yes, indeed, Foreign Affairs Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohamed is live with us exclusively for her first interview since her appointment. Thank you for coming on NTV.
Thank you for having me.
You've had a very busy day.
It has been busy.
Has it been just this busy since you were appointed?
Absolutely.
The one thing we need to get out of the way real quick, Saudi Arabia, and we've been reporting on this story for 2 days straight about people who are, to use it for lack of a better term, enslaved in the Gulf.
That's a really, really hard term to actually use.
But that's the situation, that's what is flowing back to us.
I don't think anybody's enslaved. Frankly, the Saudis, since 2001, have issued, to date, have issued 25,000 work permits. If the situation was one of enslavement, I do not think that there would be 25,000 Kenyans requesting for work permits to Saudi Arabia. So it's not one of enslavement. I mean, there are issues. There have been issues for a while. There's 60,000 Kenyans that are working in Saudi Arabia currently. 10,000 of them are domestic workers. A very small minority has issues. And I have to tell you that even though a ban was placed on the recruitment of domestic workers, in June of 2012, there are still very many that are traveling to Saudi Arabia, despite the ban.
And then
so something must be happening that's not terribly bad.
Because they look for money, Ambassador. They need money.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know what? There's 50,000 others that are working there. And in fact, of the 10,000 domestic workers, a very small minority, right, has problems. And
a very small minority includes Mary Atieno, whose story we reported on NTV, in these deportation centers where they live in inhumane conditions.
Absolutely.
What are you doing about this?
And there are 3,000 Kenyans who are affected.
Right.
There are 3,000 who are affected by the deportation orders. An amnesty was issued for those that are illegally in Saudi Arabia. Those do not have work permits because they contravened the terms of their work permits. So they've been requested to leave the country. They were given 3 months to do that. The exit visas are being worked on. The Saudi government has issued one-way tickets to 85% of the 3,000. And so we're actually waiting for them to be processed so that we can facilitate the exit from Saudi Arabia. 450 of those, which is about 15%, are in the embassy, are in the chancery. And we've been doing our best to actually provide them with drinking water, with food, with the minimum, bare minimum of their requirements. And so the government is doing everything that it can to just make sure that at the end of the term that was given to them, if their exit visas are ready, that they leave Saudi Arabia and return home. As I said, they already have their one-way tickets back to Nairobi. But you know what? At the moment, as we speak, there must be thousands of Kenyans who are applying for work permits to go
in the exact same place. Is there a caveat you can give them, a warning or some things they need to look out for?
No, actually, what we've done is we've put in place, mechanisms, to protect them, so that, for instance, instead of the workers being paid by the employers, we have the recruiting agents paying these workers so that they're assured that they would get their wage and on time. They are keeping their travel documents, which was not the case probably in the past, and that's why you had issues. We're also working on a labor agreement with the Saudi government. In fact, they have already returned. We had given them a draft. They've worked on it, returned it to us. So now it's in our custody, and we're working on it to make sure that we put in place safeguards that are required to protect Kenyan workers that go to Saudi Arabia. But Kenya is not the only country that has workers in Saudi Arabia. There are 10 million workers in Saudi Arabia as we speak, 31% of the population. And they're from 130 countries.
All right.
And so, yes, there are issues. There will always be issues. We just need to make sure that we have the proper mechanisms to resolve them and resolve them quickly so that not too many people are affected.
Okay, I need to get through a lot of things real quick. One is that you're back at the Foreign Affairs Ministry where you used to work in the late 80s and early 90s. You were a legal advisor then. How different is it being back in that ministry?
Very different. Very different.
Of course, for once you're the boss.
That's one. That's correct. But also it's like, I've completed a circle. I'm back to where I started. And because of that, I think I probably understand what the issues are at the ministry. I understand the opportunities that the ministry can provide to the country, to the Republic. I also know the challenges that the ministry faces, and we will be addressing them, as well as making sure that we exploit to the fullest all the opportunities that are presently there.
The government has put out several statements saying we're having a new foreign policy with the Uhuru administration. What kind of foreign policy might this be?
Economic diplomacy.
What does that mean?
Make sure that we actually use the offices that we establish abroad to attract investment into the country, to ensure that we market our flora and fauna and get many more tourists into the country, to actually make sure that the countries that we trade with that we move the relationship that we have to the next level, so that we can trade much more effectively, but also diversify the relationship that we have. Our trade relations are terribly imbalanced, and so we need to correct that, and correct that quickly.
We also have the dubious distinction of being the African country that just elected ICC suspects. Does that make your work hard?
No, it doesn't interfere with my work, actually. No, it doesn't.
But we're seen internationally as a pariah state of sorts.
Well, you know what? There are two individuals. They happen to be the president and the deputy president that are working through the ICC process. The whole country is not indicted. And I think we should always remember that. We also cannot allow the ICC to color everything and anything that we do.
So would you say it didn't have an impact on President Obama coming to Tanzania but skipping Kenya?
It's not the first time it has happened. President Obama has been in Africa before, and he still skipped Kenya. But he came to Kenya when he didn't go to any other African country.
He wasn't president then.
Well, still, how many American senators go around the continent? He came here, he spent a lot of time here, and so we should actually be thinking of having an Obama trip that is specifically, intended for Kenya, and not be one of a series.
Finally, real quick, why did you take this job? You were in a very high-flying UN job as Deputy Secretary General.
Public service. We should all try it at one time. It's very, very satisfying.
Even when you take a major pay cut?
Absolutely. And I'll do it. I'll do it in a New York minute.
Look into this camera and promise Kenyans, what are you going to do for them?
I'll make sure that I carry out my mandate. I'll carry it out effectively, I'll carry it out efficiently, and I'll be as supportive as I can to our national development agenda.
Ambassador Amina Mohamed, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That's a fascinating conversation we've had with the Foreign Affairs Secretary, Ambassador Amina Mohamed, exclusive to us here on NTV. We're taking a short break right now. When we're back, Wallace Kantai will have the